But here's the wrinkle. I think strategic planning is a great tool to identify those individuals on your leadership team bench that have the will and ability to lead. Who has the will and ability to lead in your organization, and how are you testing it? Very often as a business owner, I found myself, I'm about 60% effective when I'm hiring people that I make the right decision. And if you're picking your future leaders, I would suggest that maybe 60% is about what you're going to get there too. What if instead of picking the leader, you let the leaders rise to the top and they select themselves? So how we use strategic planning is we went through a process, much like a SMART goal or anything else, where we had the strategic plan, we had the individual initiatives, and for each initiative we had a due date and an owner. And that's great. A lot of good things happened. But here's how we identified those that had the will and ability to lead. What we did is we had an expectation. We said, you know what, we don't mind changing the strategic plan if we have better information to adjust it and go forward. But we expect ourselves to walk the walk and talk the talk. So if you came to us 2 weeks before the due date and need to make a change, great. But if you came to us that morning, we called that a miss in the expectation. Your first miss, you had to buy donuts for the entire strategic planning team. Okay, 10 donuts, not a big deal, right? The second time you missed, you had to buy lunch for the company. Now, we had 50 employees, 5 offices, so you're shipping pizzas all over the U.S. That wasn't the expensive part. The expensive part was you had to get up in front of the entire company and tell them why. Okay? That was a big, big, big impact. The third time you had a strike, you weren't invited back to the strategic planning team. Now, that happened twice in our world, and both times they were still welcome in the company. It's just they didn't have a seat on the leadership team bus, and we loved them. They were doing great work. They weren't bad people, all good. That just wasn't right for them. Now, unfortunately, 2 to 3 years later, both had left the organization. It wasn't because we pushed them out, because they just didn't feel comfortable. They had let their peers down. So that self-selection process, continuing to identify who in your organization has the will and ability to lead. As a CEO, our job is to make sure that we don't bite off more than we can chew, that we're not setting our team up for failure. So it's more important about getting the success flywheel spinning than about doing too much. Start off with 3 or 4 initiatives and do it well instead of 10 initiatives and do it mediocre. So how are you identifying individuals in your organization that have the will and ability to lead? The tools don't matter as much as the learning process.